health, appropriately. So you can always join me live on Facebook. I am doing the radio show live there. So again, as you guys are joining on here on Facebook, let me know any questions that you have. Want to make sure that we're answering those for you guys. And again, if you haven't liked and followed our page, go and do that. It's Doctors Warren, DRSWARREN. It's Saturday, man. We just moved and everything, so if my brain is a little off, that's why. But Doctors Warren, DRSWARREN on Facebook. Like and follow our page there. And again, you'll be able to see all of our information. So that being said, guys, as we dive into today's show as well, make sure that you are, that you're really getting the mindset of saying, hey, you know what? I want to take my health to the next level, and I want to be preventative about it. I think that being preventative about our health is more important than ever. When we're looking at the quote unquote crisis that we're in as far as SARS-CoV-2 goes, I think a lot of people, look at it as, man, 205 or 208,000 people have died from this. Oh man, what a tragedy. But the way I look at it is, over the last 15, 20, 30 years, our health in this country has been abysmal. What a tragedy, right? And that's really the way to look at it. The majority of those that died, of the 208,000 were very, very unhealthy people. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact. And maybe, you're somebody who lost your grandmother or you lost somebody close to you, and I'm sorry about that. But at the end of the day, the reality is sicker people are the ones that are succumbing to this virus, just like it's been, throughout nature. Now, does that mean there's not those random few that didn't seem to have any symptoms on the outside, seem to be healthy? Yeah, that happens as well. But again, that's nature. And so I think for some people, especially in our society that values safety at all costs, which is such a pipe dream, and it's not even realistic. We have a whole society that's really diving into that concept that says, oh man, I love safety at all costs. We need to, we've got to do all of these precautions, not for me, but for everybody else around me. And really, I think that's such a dangerous mindset. I know the Dr. Rebecca and myself, with our kids, we don't teach them that mindset. We have different ideas on looking at how we talk to our kids. So when we talk to our kids, we do a few things. Number one, I don't tell them, be careful. I don't say those words. And for some parents, they're like, oh man, how could you not say that? We don't say that to our kids. That doesn't mean that we don't educate them. That doesn't mean that we're not like, hey, buddy, you're about to jump off of this, this huge bunk bed that's 4 times the size of you. Have you seen how far down that is? Are you prepared for that? Is that something that, and we help them work their way through the things that they're about to do, because if we consistently use the words like be careful, it's giving them the idea that that's the most important thing in life, is to be careful. And life is full of risk, and actually thank God that it is. Life is better when you go out and you risk things. That is just the way it's meant to be. And so when it comes to risk and with our health, it doesn't mean that we have to be stupid, right? We still have a choice. And so that's why I talk about preventing these health problems in the beginning. That's the biggest thing that we can do. And again, we're not living to be careful, right? We're preparing our bodies and our minds for risk, because that's what life is, right? That's what life is. And so now, one of the things that I want to get to on today's show is I would love to be able to talk about something that really is that I think is really weighing on people's minds, right? Something that I think is going to be obviously a major topic, and it already is. And that's really how to prepare for the flu season, and how to prepare for kind of this upcoming fall going into winter months, and viruses and things like that. That's really what I want to talk about. And so when we're looking at this upcoming flu season. I think we've got to take into account, actually they're, looking at somewhere like Australia where they've kind of went through their flu season because they're on the opposite end of the world, and knowing that it was actually less than what it's been in the past. And that's actually, it's at least historically accurate. When you look at 2002, 2003, and the SARS outbreak that happened then, when you look at 2008, 2009, H1N1, when you look in previous, in history, 1918 with the Spanish flu, if you look at, the amount of lives that were lost during that season, but then you look at the next one, right? You look at the next, quote unquote flu season, it's always been less because a lot of the people that died, with SARS-CoV-2 were people that were going to die anyway from the flu. And now, again, I'll hear people say, yeah, but if we could have done this and this, they could have had a few more months, or they, and who are you to say that they don't have... Listen, nature's nature, and, it's unfortunate, and I'm sorry if you've lost a loved one. I feel bad for you. I really do. I'm not saying that, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, but at the same time, I'm being realistic. And when you look at the next, right, flu season, it's usually less because of the fact that, a majority of those people that were going to die from this next flu season already died from the previous virus, in this case, SARS-CoV-2. So, that being said, I don't think it's going to be, listen, I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not, I'm not a virologist. So, take it for what it's worth. But at least historically, it's been, this way pretty much every single time. And so I think that's one bit of good news. Now, the other thing that we have to look at is how to prepare the body no matter what, right? So I would like to go over ways that you can prepare the immune system. Some of my favorite ways to make sure that you are ready and that you are prepped and that you have your body in a state of healing as you jump into these things. And no, it does not include, getting the flu jab. That is not part of my preventative strategy. If that offends a couple of you, I don't care, because again, it's just when you look at its efficacy rate, I mean, it's absolutely abysmal. When you look at the group that's more likely to have worse symptoms and have worse outcomes with the flu, right? When you're looking at that age group, it's an older age group, adults over the age of 65, and yet when you look at the flu jab, it's literally the least effective for that group, and yet that's the one that they push and push and push. Oh, come to Target, you get a free gift card. Go to Walgreens, get a free, this and that. If you are not paying for something, guys, here's a simple concept. If you're not paying for something, if somebody's giving you something, right, to get something like the flu jab, if that's the case, you have to understand that if the actual shot is not the product, then what is the product? And the product is you. You are the product. So you have to remember that. And so, again, no, that is not a part of my preventative strategy going into the flu season. But I think there are some game changers that I would like to go over. And the first one I would like to spend some time on, and I've spent some time on this in the past, kind of over and over again, but I think it's the one of the most important parts is how are you eating? What is the food that you are consuming? And I'm going to go over what I think are some of the best strategies going into this fall and winter, and how to eat, and again, how to get the most nutrient density with the food that you're consuming, but also too, how to build the immune system, again, going into this flu season with the food that we're consuming. And no, you've heard us say before, like Dr. Rebecca and myself, I do not like the term food is medicine. I don't like that at all, because food is not medicine. Food has an innate intelligence inside of it, just like we do, that when you consume it, it literally takes the cells from the food that you consume and turns that into living tissue. Like, that's not medicine. Medicine does not do that ever, and it never will be able to do that. But yet food can do that. And so again, I don't like the term food is medicine. I think that's a joke, and I think that puts food in a category that's so like minimalistic compared to what it really is. So food is literally, it's nourishment. Food is information. Food, supplies your cells with everything that it needs in order to operate, to have energy, to be able to, to be able to function some of those hormones and those enzymatic processes. Literally food is information and it's nourishment. That's the way I like to put it. And so, yes, there are ways. Listen, there's a lot of different, great diets out there, but there are simple, I think, rules that I think must be followed, especially if you want to optimize your health when it comes to nutrition. And so one of those is looking at, the way our ancestors ate. Pretty much all of our ancestors, unless they came from like a tropical climate, had seasons. So any of our ancestors that had, that lived in areas that had seasons, so like Native Americans, for example, that is a major part of my family history, my ancestry. When you look at these categories of our ancestors, when they would hit around fall and winter, the way they consume food would change. It would change with the seasons. So it's called diet variation. And so guess what? Well, I think we should be the same. We should be varying our diet. We actually know that there's been some studies that show that our microbiome, that means our gut bacteria and our environment of our gut, literally shifts with the seasons. Now, it's been less and less because of our modern lifestyle, but our ancestors, that was something that really played a major role into the type of food that the bacteria would literally shift and the microbiome would shift with the seasons. And so, coming up on fall and winter, that means we want to be consuming, more of a dense diet and things like really good high quality animal protein and animal fat. Why? Because that would be a primary season where, hunting would be really, really big. And again, getting some of those big game would be absolutely huge from an energy expenditure standpoint, and also from literally a nutrient density standpoint. As you guys have heard me say before, if you look at the nutrient density of foods that come from specifically animal protein and animal fat, and it's high quality animal protein and animal fat, some of the most nutrient dense foods on the entire planet. And so, again, if you compare something like, let's say, like grass-fed liver or a venison liver, to something like even kale, spinach, blueberries, those type of things, I mean, the nutrient density is not even close. So we want to make sure that we're eating lots of nutrient-dense foods and again, animal fat and animal protein. So I got to go on our first break here, guys. And so as I go on this break, I will still be continuing to talk here on Facebook Live. So if you're listening on the radio, again, jump over to Facebook, Doctors Warren, DRSWARREN on Facebook. You can also go check out our website. If you guys haven't yet, go to doctorswarren.com and check out our website. Guys, we have blog posts on there. We have past archived radio shows on different subjects. We also have, again, shop and the store with things that we talk about on this show that you guys can go check out. Actually, we've got a couple different shops on there, and some of our favorite products and everything are on there as well, too. So doctorswarren.com. Go check it out. Join me on Facebook during the break. If you guys want more information, you want to schedule an appointment with us, whether it's in office or whether it's virtually. And again, you want to do some like functional coaching as well. Guys, you can do that. You can give Heidi a call here at the office. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, it's 423-362-5360. Or go to doctorswarren.com and you can read more about it there and schedule an appointment there as well. This is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll be right back after the break. All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. I hope you guys are all doing well today. I'm super glad that you're on with me. I am talking about some of the best ways to prepare for this upcoming flu season and how to really prepare the immune system. And so the first part that I was talking about, in this first segment was really looking at nutrient density and the food that we consume and how our diet should naturally vary based on the seasons. And so as we get into the fall and the winter, I think it's really important that we're consuming, some really big nutrient dense meals. And so we consume lots, at least from our family standpoint, we really kind of go more towards the paleo keto route, as we get more into or you may call it low carb paleo, whatever you want to call it, as we get into the fall and winter months. So we're consuming lots of, organic grass-fed meats or pasture-raised meats, lots of pasture-raised eggs. We're consuming lots of things like lots of bone broth. I mean, a ton of bone broth, guys. When it hits into the fall and winter, we're using bone broth in things like Instapot recipes. We're using bone broth, just on a regular basis, just to drink. I'll usually do about a mug or so full of bone broth before one of my meals throughout the day. If I have it readily available, I may do it before both of my meals for the day if I'm eating 2 meals on that day. But again, super nutrient dense, amazing for your gut health, and we already know that about 70 to 80% of your immune system relies in the gut itself. So getting those amazing amino acids that come in the bone broth, getting some of those fantastic, good healthy fats, and lots of vitamins and nutrients and minerals, right? A lot of minerals from your bone broth is huge as we go into the fall and winter months. So I'm a big fan of really consuming lots of bone broth throughout the fall and the winter. And so you have a couple choices. You can make it yourself. And again, I think that's probably the most cost-effective way. And if you're getting maybe local grass-fed bones, or you're getting maybe you're a hunter and you got your first deer of the season and you have some bones from that, making it yourself is going to be your most cost-effective way and probably your most nutrient-dense and healthy way to do it. All right. Now, you can do it in an Instapot and do it in the matter of hours, or you can do it in a crock pot and do it in the matter of 24 to 36 hours over time. Now, for us, if you're like me, if you're kind of on the run and you're just trying to get, some bone broth in, you don't always have time to make it. My go-to is Kettle and Fire. I love that brand. I think it's fantastic. Kettle and Fire is one that you can do. You can find it at most health food stores. You can find it at most grocery stores now as well. I know here in Chattanooga, you can get it at Whole Foods. You can get it at places like Fresh Market, those type of things. I know if you have a Sprouts in your area, I know they sell it. If you've got some places like that, but you can get it online too. Thrive Market online. But I love utilizing bone broth. So get it in as best you possibly can. Some people like to use more of a bone broth protein, like Ancient Nutrition. I know they make one, but I would rather you get it, again, from the food source itself. So we're about to go live. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. And so we are talking about how to prepare the body for flu season, right? For this upcoming flu season, how to prepare the immune system. The first thing that we're talking about is nutrition, right? What are some of the nutritional principles that you need to start now in order to prepare the body? And so I was talking on here on Facebook Live about how as we transition into the winter months, Dr. Rebecca and I really go more into a paleo keto style of eating. Again, we're kind of coming out of the summer months, which is where I add in a lot more, things like a lot more good fruit and stuff like that. I consume higher amounts of plant foods, again, in the summer and the spring. So, as we get more into the winter, I'm consuming more animal fat, animal protein, again, some of the really nutrient dense vegetables as well. So we'll do cruciferous vegetables. We'll do things like, leafy greens. We'll prepare things like, kale and stuff like that really can grow throughout the fall and winter months. And so, again, getting ready for the winter and fall is huge from a food standpoint. So, I talked about bone broth, consuming high amounts of bone broth. Keep it when you're choosing your meat. Do it these ways. Let's go over some actual guidelines on choosing your meat. If you can choose local, I think that's always better. If you can find a local farmer where you can get grass-fed, grass-finished, making sure that, again, they're always pastured, their whole entire life is huge. Again, you want to make sure you can get that. If you don't have that readily available in your area, maybe check out something like white oak pastures, is a really good one that you can check out. Bel Campo is a great one that you can check out. But at least white oak pastures for my area, it's going to be more regional. It's in Georgia, it's in southern Georgia, and they can ship it right to your house. In Chattanooga, I know there's places like Eden and Thistle that you can get delivered right to your home as well, and they have pasture raised animals as well too. So again, making sure nutrient density. Eggs, pastured eggs, and egg yolk is one of the most nutrient-dense foods, again, that you can put inside of your body. Now, some of you may have, some food sensitivities to eggs, and most of the time that's coming from egg whites. And so if that's you may need to cut it out for a little bit, but then once you've worked on healing your gut, reintroduce eggs, because eggs are so nutrient dense, and the fat that's inside of those, the vitamin A, D, E, and K, is just so vast that it's amazing for the body, as well as choline. You get lots and lots of choline, which is huge for things like brain development for kids especially, but also for building up the brain, building up hormones, building up the cell membrane. Again, so really, really want to get lots of pastured egg yolks in the diet as well. Now, from the standpoint of, as you're looking at your diet, I like to use something like an Instapot over and over again, especially throughout the fall and winter, for a couple big reasons, right? Number one, I like to use it because it helps to save us time. So like if we're always on the go, man, we can just put it in there. You can literally take a frozen chicken or frozen, roast or something, and within a couple of hours, you're ready to go. And that's frozen to falling apart, amazing. But also too, when you look at something like the Instapot, using things like heat and pressure in a safe way, right? But using heat and pressure, you preserve 90 to 98% of the nutrients that are in the food. So I really, really love utilizing that tool, that kitchen tool. Also too, making sure that throughout the fall and winter, as our climate gets a little bit colder, really getting a lot of good calories into the diet is huge too. So the way I like to do it is I am always in the fall and winter making really, really big smoothies that are full of good protein and good healthy fat. Now, I don't use a ton of fruit in my smoothies, especially in the fall and winter. I will use some frozen berries. I may use some frozen blueberries, or if maybe we have some goji berries or something like that, I may throw those in there, frozen, sometimes some frozen cranberries. But I'm not gonna lie, don't really like the taste of frozen cranberries, so I'll add some extra stevia to kind of cut that, or monk fruit to kind of cut that with. But again, I don't put things like bananas or pineapple or those type of sweeter fruit in there. If I'm going to consume those, again, for me, those are more in the summer months. And so, but getting lots of good nutrient-dense calories are important, and especially to feed your hormones. I find a lot of times there's a difference between fasting and starving. And so I see a lot of people more along the lines of starvation mode, where they're really cutting calories long term, and they're fasting because they're forgetting about eating because they're working hard or something like that. That's called starvation, as opposed to again actually utilizing fasting. And so again, hopefully that kind of covers the food standpoint of it. Really stick more to a paleo keto style diet. Now, if you're a woman, especially if you're a woman over the age of 40, 45 years old, and you're kind of hitting those premenopausal age, maybe 50, you're kind of hitting that age or perimenopausal area, then you may want to cycle in some really nutrient dense carbohydrates, especially when you're looking at maybe it's once a week doing a carb refeeding, or you can even do a little bit of doing majority of your carbohydrates in the evening. So maybe you choose 1 to 2 days throughout the week that at dinner you consume maybe it's some sweet potato, or it's acorn or pumpkin pumpkin squash or something like that, butternut squash. Consuming that with lots of grass-fed butter, some good sea salt. Maybe you even add in, I know it's not technically paleo, but maybe adding in like some organic, white rice, some organic like jasmine rice, especially if it's grown in like Texas or California, much better than coming from China. And so again, as far as its toxicity level, so you consume some of those healthier carbohydrates maybe once or twice a week, and that will really help you with your hormones, especially as a female. So again, just kind of keep that in mind. It's kind of like you're cycling through. It's called cyclic ketosis, and I think that's something that can really help you out as well too. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, it's kind of nutrition based, but really it's the lack of nutrition, is utilizing fasting, especially during the fall and the winter. Utilize some fasting. What I find is men, especially in the fall and the winter, do really, really well with doing 1 or 2 meals a day, not 3. They do really, really good with it. They actually seem to do fantastic. A lot of men, especially if I get them metabolically healthy, so they may not you may not be able to do this at the beginning, but working your way into where you're fasting most of the day and eating a big meal in the evening, and so really shortening that feeding window, I think is a really great way to do it. And so you can kind of, or if maybe you're just getting into it, maybe you fast 18 hours throughout the day, and then you do one of your meals is like bone broth. You just do a lot of bone broth, and then the second meal of the day, like your big dinner, then you're consuming like your grass-fed meat, and you're consuming like your vegetables, and really eating lots of nutrient density and lots of calories. Like for men, I think that's a really, really good strategy. For women, I usually like to say maybe stick around like the 16, 17 hour mark is great. If you have, listen to me closely though, if you have adrenal issues, so like you have, severe fatigue, or you're really fatigued all the time, you may want to shorten your fasting window and maybe more stick to around like the 14 to 15 hour mark, and consume, more than likely 3 meals during the day to give your adrenals some support there. So I got to take a quick break, and when we get back, I'm going to go into more strategies on preparing the body for the flu season, and really how you can prepare your body from an immune standpoint. So make sure that you stay tuned for that, guys. If you want our help, if you want to come into the office, or if you want to do a virtual appointment with us, again, guys, we do it with, we actually coach a lot of people who are not here in Chattanooga. I coach people in California, in Texas, I have a couple in New York. So again, kind of across the board, we see a lot of people like that. So if you want to come in and see us, or if you want to see us via Zoom, guys, that number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. Or you can go on doctorswarren.com and check us out there. Guys, this is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll see you right back after the break. All right, guys. On Facebook Live, if you guys have any questions about diet or nutrition as I'm going through this, please ask, even based on you, or if you have, some type of situation that you think may be different for you, man, post it on here. Or if you've had success with varying your diet, or success with the ketogenic or paleo diet, man, post that as well. We like to celebrate with you as well, too. Got my bulletproof coffee here this morning. Didn't have time to make coffee, so again, this is a really great way, getting lots of good healthy fat in. But one of the things that's in this that I do think is important when we're talking about going into the fall and winter months is collagen, right? Getting lots of collagen in the diet. I'm a huge fan of collagen in the diet, and there's a reason for that, because when you look at like the plagues that we're going through right now in our society, of things like knee replacements, hip replacements, all kinds of arthritic conditions, all kinds of issues, just overall with like a breakdown of tissue and kind of weakening of tissue, a lot of that has to do with like collagen deficiency. If you think about it, if you're not actually supplementing with collagen, where in the world are we getting it in our diet? When you look at our ancestors, they would get like collagenous tissue, not only from things like bone broth, and breaking down, parts of the bone and joint by like kind of rendering that and cooking that down. But they would also get it from a lot of the meat that they would consume too. They would consume some of the collagenous tissue. And again, it's because it is super, super nutrient dense. And actually, I've talked about this study before, but there's a study that actually looked at and followed individuals over the course of 6 to 7 years and saw, almost a 50% replacement of collagenous tissue in the body when they were consistently supplementing with collagen. So we want to make sure we're getting lots and lots of collagen. And so again, we live in a modern world where you don't have to chew on collagenous tissue if you don't want to. I guess if you want to, you can do that. Again, you can prepare things like bone stock and bone broth, or you can get it in supplemental form. So like what I was just saying here, like I'm on the go, and so my bulletproof coffee, it's organic coffee with lots of good healthy fat like grass-fed butter and some MCT oil, organic cacao powder. It's not sweetened with any sugar. It's got some monk fruit in it. But it's also got collagen, like grass-fed collagen in it. And so again, it's like 15 grams of protein that is going to be fantastic for my body overall. And it gives me a really good mental boost at the same time. So I love utilizing collagen. There's other ways to get it in as well too. So like one of the things that we use with our kids and that I use at home, and I know it'll be backwards since I've got my camera here, but you'll at least get an idea. We like to use Ancient Nutrition. They have a grass-fed collagen, which I like a whole lot. This is one of their new ones that actually they make it with beef, lamb, and venison, right? So they're getting the collagen from some of my favorite sources. And again, these are coming from animals that are well-raised. They're pasture-raised. And again, coming from a very ethically sourced, source. So that's one of the things we like to use at home. Like my favorite's the chocolate brownie because I'm like obsessed with chocolate, mainly because cacao has massive amounts of polyphenols and amazing for getting rid of oxidative stress. One of the most, again, from a polyphenol standpoint, one of the most rich foods in that, and antioxidants. So I really, really like the chocolate brownie one is great. I will blend it, usually with like some, if I have like macadamia milk at home, like by Milkadamia, or if I'll have like something like, sometimes from like a local farmer, here in Chattanooga, Fall Creek Farms is who we get it from, but I'll do some like raw goat's milk as well, and I'll blend it in there as well, just because it's loaded with lots of fat soluble vitamins. So I'm about to go live again, so hang on 1 second here, and, let's see if I can turn up my volume here. There we go. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren, and I'm here, talking about how to prepare the body for this upcoming flu season. Again, I mentioned in the first segment, if you're just now tuning in, again, based on like historical setting, based on what we've learned in our past with past viruses, we really know that the majority of the times, like with SARS in 2002, 2003, with H1N1 in 2008, 2009, and past virus outbreaks, that usually the flu season the next year is not nearly as bad as far as like death count as it was the previous year. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of people who died from, like, for example, SARS-CoV-2 this time that would have died during this next flu season. And so, again, does that mean I'm 100% accurate about that? No, but at least historically, that's what history has shown us. And so, again, I really don't think from that perspective, that it's going to be nearly as bad as it's been in the past. Now, as we go through these strategies, as you know, one of my strategies is not the flu jab, and I've mentioned that before. Again, it's just, when you look at its efficacy, it's just absolutely abysmal. We actually know that, the majority of the biggest chunk of money that was given out in vaccine injury court actually comes from the flu vaccine itself. We still know that the multi-dose vials still contain thimerosal in it, which is absolutely unbelievable and completely uncalled for with the technology that we have today. There's no reason. That's absolutely insane. And if a doctor tells you that that's safe, I question that doctor's intelligence, because there's nothing ever safe about putting any form of mercury in the body at all. The same with aluminum, same with formaldehyde, guys. Those are not meant in any form, again, to be injected into the bloodstream and go into the body. It's just not the way it's supposed to be, all right? Some people want to say, well, you get minimal amounts from your food. Yeah, it goes through your digestive tract. So that's completely different than going directly into your bloodstream, by the way. And again, it's just simple biochemistry, right? It's simple physiology when you look at the way that it goes from the digestive system or compared to going into the bloodstream. Two completely different things. Now, all that to be said, we've talked about food. We talked about how to prepare the body. If you missed it, if you're just now tuning in, go back. You can rewatch it. This is why I do it live on Facebook. You can go back. You can rewatch how I talked about eating throughout the fall and the winter and varying your diet just like our ancestors did. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is making sure that your gut is prepared. Making sure that you are taking care of your gut and your microbiome. Listen, it is vitally important that you do so, okay? If you are, really anybody, in today's society, you've got to make sure that you're going above and beyond to take care of the gut. And so really protecting what's called the mucosal membrane of the gut is huge, and really protecting the intestinal lining. Now, one way that I found that really wreaks havoc on the intestinal lining is wheat, right? And consuming gluten or gliadin. So I always tell people, cut it out. Yes, there's been times throughout history. I'm not saying there hasn't been times throughout history that having wheat stocked up throughout, not only famine months, but probably winter months has saved, maybe saved humanity or saved a population. I'm not saying that. But just because something may have kept somebody alive doesn't mean that it's nutrient dense, and does not mean that it's something that is absolutely necessary to living, and more specifically, necessary to thriving, right? Just because something helps you survive doesn't mean it helps you thrive, all right? And so when we're looking at things like gluten and gliadin, they trigger a molecule called zonulin, all right? Zonulin opens up what are called tight junctions in the lining of your gut. When you do that, you may have heard the phrase leaky gut. I like the term gut permeability much better. And so it does that. So zonulin is triggered and it opens up that lining of the gut. Now, for some people, zonulin, that can be triggered for literally months. So consuming, you may say, well, it's just a little bit of maybe you have a beer for the game, or maybe it's, maybe you're doing something like, it's just one sandwich. Guys, it literally can trigger zonulin for months, which means it can lead to intestinal permeability for the next 3 to 6 months. So we don't want that. So again, just cut that out. Now, you're like, well, I want to have a drink for the game. Well, there's other things that you can have, right? Like maybe you get some really good organic, biodynamic, low sulfite or no sulfite, low sugar, wine, like a dry farmed wine. You can do that. Maybe you're somebody that maybe you do something a little bit more clean, like a vodka, and mixed with nothing that's added with sugar and artificial colorings and things like that. So you can still have that if that's something that you enjoy. So I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, when you drink a beer, it's liquid gluten. You are loading your body with some of the most damaging, things for your gut lining. So I would say, make sure that you're moving away from that. And so again, protect that mucosal membrane, protect that intestinal lining. Some things that do that really well, all right? So one of our basic, just our day-to-day rituals that we do in our house, we do not miss this. We bring it in we used to carry a diaper bag. I guess we don't anymore with our kids. But when we did, we carried it in our diaper bag. If Dr. Becca's carrying a bag or a purse, it's definitely in there. And that's called ion biome, right? And so I have it here. Again, it's backwards for those of you on Facebook Live. But ion biome is fantastic. it works really, really well for closing up those tight junctions, all right? Now, when you look at it, it used to be called Restore. So some of you may know it as Restore. They've changed the name. It's called the Ion Biome. And so really what we do with this is we just kind of take a little swig before each meal that we consume. And so they recommend like a teaspoon 3 times a day, but what it does is absolutely phenomenal. I think it's one of the most important supplements on the planet because when you look at something like Ion Biome, the whole purpose of it is it actually closes up the tight junctions. And so that means if you're consuming food that maybe has, trace amounts of glyphosate or some other type of herbicide or pesticide on it, it's not going to absorb systemically. Instead, your body will be able to get rid of the majority of that, again, via the urine. So you'll be able to kind of waste that out. And it also increases communication between bacteria and your cells. So it increases that communication between you, your body, and nature, and really helps to increase the diversity of the microbiome and really kind of nourish that environment. So I think from an immune standpoint, like when I'm doing a gut protocol with patients, unless maybe it's a severe case of like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or SIBO, I may hold off on Ion Biome for a little bit. But besides that, I use like Ion Biome for most of my gut protocols, like as a part of it, just because of the success we have with it closing up the tight junctions in the gut. Actually, one of the stories I'll tell you, like my son, Elijah, he had some food sensitivities when he was little with things like strawberries, almonds, and eggs. And so it seemed like, when he would consume those, it was like an immediate diaper rash, like immediately. And so the only thing we did a food sensitivity test, saw, that those showed up, and we had already kind of knew that they probably would. And so we cut those out for a period of time, and we did Ion Biome with him. And again, saw amazing results, able to retest. Those food sensitivities were gone. He's now able to consume those on a regular basis. So that being said, again, it's a very, very powerful part of protecting your immune function and really closing up those tight junctions and seeing some really, really great improvements in overall gut health. All right, guys, so I got to go on another break here, guys. Actually, my last break here of the show. If you have any questions, again, you can comment on Facebook Live, Drs. Warren, DRSWARREN. Like and follow our page. Share our videos too, guys. Again, I always say, if you enjoy the information, share it, because people need to hear this type of information. It was this type of information that changed and saved my life and my family. So again, share this information if you like it and enjoy it. Also, too, if you want to see us in the office, or if you want to have like a virtual appointment with us, you can give Heidi a call. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. Or go to drswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com, and check us out there. You can also, if you go to the shop, both of the shops that we have on there have some of the things that we've been talking about, like Ion Biome, some of the grass-fed collagen, and any of the supplements I've talked about on past shows. They're there on drswarren.com. You can go check that out as well. This is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll be right back after the break. All right, guys. So hopefully you guys are getting some good information. I really hope that I'm kind of helping you prepare your body, guys. When it comes to something like this, like Ion Biome, doing things like grass-fed collagen, guys, these are something you can do with your kids, right? That will really, really help build up their immune system, especially if they're going to school right now, or if you're worried about them, getting the flu, or if you're worried about them, testing positive for COVID, or whatever that may be. Strengthen the immune system, right? And these are really simple ones that you can do that taste fantastic. And again, well, at least the Ion Biome, it doesn't really taste like anything. It kind of tastes like water. So we tell our kids it's like magic dirt water. And again, this is something that you can utilize on a regular basis to build up the gut. Now, some other things that I really love to build up the gut, you can cycle through some spore probiotics, all right? Not just any probiotics, because most probiotics that you get majority of those are going to die in the stomach acid. They're not going to make it to the area that they need to make it to really proliferate and build up the diversity of the gut. So I recommend using spore forms of probiotics, or some other people may know them as soil-based organisms. But these spore-formed probiotics are in a protective spore, right, that are able to withstand the acidity of the stomach. They're able to withstand heat. So that one of the fun things that we like to do with our kids is, one of my favorite things to make are like paleo or keto, like waffles and pancakes. And so what I'll do is I'll open up a capsule or two of something like Megaspore Biotic. I'll open up a capsule of that and I'll put it into the batter that we're mixing, and then we'll make it, because it can withstand up to like 475 or even close to 500 as far as the heat goes. And we'll use that, really, really well. There's another one that you can use. ProFlora 4R is a great spore-forming probiotic. I know Dr. Mercola makes a great spore-forming probiotic. And again, utilize some spore-former probiotics to increase the diversity of the gut, to boost the immune system, and really, really kind of prepare, the gut for this fall and winter. And so build up the diversity, right? Another one that's really great, that's not going to be in spore form, but that seems to have a really strong impact on the immune system, and especially for things like preventing, like candida or yeast overgrowth, is Saccharomyces boulardii. So I really like that one as well. Now, this is one to be aware of. If you've let's say if you've ever had like H. pylori, or you've ever, been diagnosed with that, using Saccharomyces boulardii is an amazing, amazing thing to really help kind of beat that back down. But be aware, like it's a strong, thing to kind of work on H. pylori. So if you take a high dose of Saccharomyces boulardii, you may get like some vomiting or, some reactions like that as it's kind of killing that off. So just be aware of that. But Saccharomyces boulardii is really, really great as well too. From the standpoint of building up the diversity. It's kind of like a natural cleanup system too. So it really helps to proliferate, microorganisms that are supposed to be there. And then it also helps to really do things like also like help to proliferate the good stuff, but get rid of the bad stuff, right? So I like utilizing something like Saccharomyces boulardii and some healthy forms of spore-formed bacteria. I think that's really, really important. Use it with yourself, use it with your kids. Now, if you're somebody that has like maybe like an overgrowth of bacteria, you might want to use, something like an HU58, which is like a Bacillus subtilis, and make sure that's in spore form. That is kind of like think of it as almost like a natural like antibiotic. It helps to clean up those areas too as well. So we're about to go live again, so hang on one second here. And I'll give some more information, all right, on gut health. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. And so we've been going over how to prepare the body for this upcoming flu season, for the fall and the winter, and really take control of your health and actually take preventative measures rather than the false security and false preventative measures that are labeled as the infamous, flu jab that is at like pretty much everybody's job and work and Target and Walgreens, and we get a gift card for it. What an absolute joke, guys. If somebody's giving a product away and giving you like basically money for it, then you have to remember that that's not the product. You are the product, right? And so there's better things that you can do. So we've talked about how to build up the gut. Again, utilizing spore form probiotics, utilizing things like Saccharomyces boulardii, using things like ion biome, collagen, bone broth, really building those things up, do an amazing job for boosting the immune system. Another thing to do is make sure, test your vitamin D levels. Get your vitamin D levels tested. If you are below 60, supplement with a vitamin D. You need to supplement with vitamin D and get that 60 to 90 is optimal range there as far as your vitamin D levels. And so some of you may need to do anywhere from 5,000 IUs to 15,000 IUs depending on. If you have a severe deficiency, you may need to do something like, maybe twice a week, what's called vitamin D loading, and doing like 50,000 IUs of vitamin D twice a week to really give that a big boost. And get your vitamin D levels up. Now, I like to do a complex, so I like to do vitamin D combined with vitamin K, both K1 and K2, really good combination there as well, so that way you are delivering calcium to the bones in an appropriate way, right? Putting calcium where it needs to go rather than, allowing that to kind of just lay down in different places. But there's a synergistic effect there when you use both vitamin D and K complex there as well. So that's an amazing one. Remember, vitamin D is an immunomodulator, so it helps to modulate the immune system. Then you can use some great foods specifically with also kind of taking care of the immune system. Things like garlic, right? Garlic, one of the things that I always love to do, and I tell my patients to do it. Now, listen, if you're planning on kissing a bunch of people, and you don't want your breath to stink, don't do what I'm about to say. But if you want to boost the immune system and really have a titanium immune system, then you can do what I'm about to say. But I always tell people to take a clove of garlic, you chop it up into really, really tiny pieces, and again, let it sit out for about 30 seconds to a minute, and you can always feel how sticky that is. That's the allicin that's actually in the garlic that's really, really highly antimicrobial, and you can actually chop that up fine and put it on a spoon and take that down. You don't have to chew it, swallow it with some lemon water. And again, by doing that, you don't have to chew it, and it's great to boost the immune system, antiviral, antibacterial, and really antifungal overall too. Now, be aware, you may have to start off with small amounts and kind of work your way up. But, people used to say an apple a day will keep the doctor away. Actually, a clove of garlic a day will keep the doctor away. Maybe keep your spouse away for a little bit too. But that's why I say, you can use some essential oils in the mouth as well. Another really great one that you can use, like oil of oregano mixed with water is great too. And that's really great for boosting the immune system as well. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys listening on the radio and listening on Facebook Live to prepare the body for this upcoming flu season. Take these real actual preventative steps here in lifestyle steps in working on your health and wellness. And again, as I say, if you want our help, doctorswarren.com, go check us out there, or you can go on Facebook, Doctors Warren, DRSWARREN. Like and follow our page so you get all of our updates. You can go back and rewatch the show if you're just now tuning in and find out all the precautionary steps on taking care of your body, boosting your immune system. If you want our help in the office, that number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. This has been Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. All right, guys. So those of you here live on Facebook, again, hopefully this has been helpful for you. I mentioned those two at the end, like garlic and oil of oregano. Absolutely fantastic. I think that when we're looking at something like oil of oregano, remember, do not put that just directly into the mouth. It is very, very strong. We want to make sure that you are, cutting that with water, right? Cut it with water, and everything there, to make sure that you're not like burning your mouth. I did that one time, like when we were actually in Nashville doing an internship, and I was like, oh man, I've got a little bit of a sore throat. And so I put 2 drops of straight oil of oregano in a little bit of water because I was just like, oh, I'm just going to take it down really quickly. And man, I shot that thing and holy moly, it like burned the back of my throat. Like not just like a little bit of burning, like it like made the back of my throat bleed. So please make sure that you cut it. So I'll use something like oregano, like with an OL at the end of it. It's like a blue and yellow bottle. It's cut with extra virgin olive oil, so it kind of cuts the bite down. And with that one, I can use underneath my tongue like 3 to 5 drops. And again, if I really like, maybe I'm in an acute situation, you can do that like up to 3 to 4 times a day, or you can mix it in water. That's a really great one too. If you want to knock out a sore throat, I'll give you a couple things really quick with that. So you can do the same thing, oil of oregano, take a drink of water, and before you swallow, gargle, right, for 30 seconds to a minute. That's a really, really great strategy. Do that 3 to 5 times throughout the day. Or you can use something called megacidin. I really like this one. And again, it's on microbiomelabs.com, and you can use our code if you want to get that. But megacidin is a spray. And so it's amazing because it's got specific bacteria that build up the nasal passage as well as the throat. So ENT, so building up that the ear, nose, and throat bacteria, the proper types of bacteria, in order to build up a healthy microbiome in that area. Plus, it's got some herbals in there that are kind of natural killers to take care of some of the overgrowth of pathogens that may be there and creating that type of issue. So again, if you follow the steps I just talked about there and you really own in on the diet, you really are making sure that you are, getting proper sleep, getting proper movement, taking times to work on your mindset, getting proper rest, and for me, always getting your adjustment. We tell people, get your flu adjustment, right? Get your adjustments, because again, when you get adjusted, we know that there's a major uptick in immune cells. That's been shown, and again, there is some evidence of that. But more importantly, it's not because it's like a specific, big time, like we don't say it's a treatment for the immune system by any means. It just supports the immune system, right? When you get adjusted, you're working on the nervous system and balancing it. And so when you balance the nervous system, you're going to have a positive effect on the immune system. So it's that simple. Again, we don't treat anything in our office, as you guys already know. And so again, I'm not saying that is like the magical cure, the magical treatment, but it's a major part of helping to keep the nervous system in balance. And then other things like the herbals that we talked about, like the supplements that we talked about, utilize those things. Those things are absolutely huge in preparing the immune system. Check your vitamin D levels. Make sure those are where they need to be. And again, you will do absolutely fantastic as you go throughout this next, kind of quote unquote flu season, and really just protecting your body overall and preparing it for whatever comes your way, so that you are able to enjoy your life, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, enjoy the mission that God's called you for, at your highest level, and really just being able to enjoy life overall. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. If you're like us here in Chattanooga, we got amazing weather. We're loving this fall weather. I hope you guys enjoy it. And as always, love you guys. Thanks for tuning in.